Hello and welcome to another exam paper walkthrough. We are doing another preparation paper. This is the GCSE Maths June 24 paper 3F preparation paper. This is based on very likely topics. So this is a paper I produced using Edexcel's enhanced skills map, and it's the very likely topics from first class maths. Check out their website, they've got some great papers as well as great revision lists. If you find this useful, please do subscribe if you like. I'll also be updating and adding new videos, so you'll get automatic updates if you have subscribed. I would recommend having some music on in the background just to get you through this paper, and I'd also recommend doing the paper before watching the video or alongside the video to get the most out of it. Okay, so this is the paper. We'll crack straight on. We've got some basic instructions. There's full breakdown of the questions and the revision lists at the back of the paper. Bear that in mind, but I thought I'd get straight on with the questions for this one. So question one, here's a list of numbers. From the numbers in the list, write down a square number. So a square number is a number that times by itself to, let's just say, 5 squared is equal to 25, so 25 is a square number, so 25. Part B, from the numbers in the list, write down all the numbers that are both a multiple of 4 and a multiple of 6. Well, I mean, technically, the lowest common multiple of 4 and 6 would be 12, so it's got to be a multiple of 12, and the multiple of 12 is going to be 24, although you could do that by doing 4 times 6 is 24. Prime numbers from the list, so if we get rid of all of the even numbers, because 2 is the only even number, and then if we look at multiples of 3, so we've got 21, 24, 27, and then if we look at the square number, can't be a prime number because 5 is a factor, so that only leaves us with 23 and 29, and those are both our prime numbers, so 23 and 29. Question 2, write 0.6 as a percentage. Well, 0.6 is going to be 6 out of 10, which is the same as 60 out of 100. So we're looking at percentages are out of 100, so that would be 60%. Question 3, simplify. We're going to be collecting our like terms together here. So 3x plus 2x would give us 5x. And then I always circle the next, including the operators in front of them. So plus 4y minus plus 5y minus 4y would just be y, or 1y, so plus y. Okay, part B, solve. 5p plus 7 is equal to 22, so I'm going to minus 7 from both sides, and that gives me 5p is equal to 15, and then divide both sides by 5, gives me p is equal to 3. Question 4, here is a list of ingredients for making 10 scones. Mia wants to make 25 scones, work out how much sugar she needs. So I'm going to say 25 divided by 10 is equal to 2.5. So the amount of sugar needs to be times by 2.5, so 40 times by 2.5. We can use a calculator if we feel it's needed, although I'm going to treat that as 4 times by 25 because that would have the same value. I've just adjusted my place value of both numbers, decreased and increased. So that's going to give me 100 grams. Right, question 5. Here's a map of an island. A straight road joins the two villages, Bracknell and Cremford. Work out the real distance between the two villages. Okay, so we've used a scale of 1 centimetre to 0.5 kilometres. So we're going to have to put our ruler on, which I'm going to slightly struggle with. Okay, this is kind of this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to put my ruler on the line and measure the line. So I make that 5.5 centimetres. So I'm going to say it's 5.5 centimetres. And I'm using the conversion of, let me just move my ruler out the way now because it's hiding my conversion. 1 centimetre is equal to 0.5 kilometres. So 5 centimetres is going to be equal to 5 times by 0.5, so it's going to be 2.5 kilometers. Okay, so I've got my protractor. Find the bearing of C from B. So we're measuring from B. So I want to measure this angle here. So C from B. B is where we're measuring from. So I need to spin my protractor around. So the 0 line is going to be meeting the north line. That looks roughly there. And then I place the center of protractor on the center of the angle. And I measure it, and it's looking like 50 degrees. So let me just move that out of the way. So that's 50 degrees. But a bearing needs to be given as 3 figures. So I'm going to write the bearing as 0, 5, 0. And of course, I've gone and made a mistake there. That's not 50 degrees. I've read real common misconception. I've read the wrong set of numbers. So I need to measure the number that starts from 0. So actually, the number that starts from 0 is the outside numbers. So I'm after 130. Silly mistake there. I really give students a hard time when they do that. So 130, which means my bearing is 130. Got a bit excited because I've not brought an actual protractor in before, so got a bit carried away. Okay, question 6. Write down the value of the 4 in this number. So the value of the 4 is 40. I tend to write it as numbers, but you can write it in terms of words. But tens is not going to get you the answer. You could write 4 tens, but the value of the 4 is 4 tens or 40. Okay, question 7. Write down a 6-digit number that has a 4 as the 1000 digit. You can only use the digit 4 once. So I just need a 6-digit number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with a 4 in the 1000 digits. So that would be there. And then any other numbers other than 4 would be absolutely fine. So I'm actually going to go for that. But any other 4-digit number, that's the only key one, and that no other 4 is in the number. Question 8. Margaret is thinking of a number. She says, my number is odd. It is a factor of 36 and a multiple of 3. There are 2 possible numbers Margaret can be thinking of. Write down these 2 numbers. So I find this, you've got an option of 2 things really. You can either start with, well, arguably you've got 3 things. You've got odd, factors of 36, and multiples of 3. And the one that's going to have the least number of outcomes is going to be factors of 36. So I would start with 36. So factors of 36, 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, and 6 and 6. Right, my number is odd, so let's get rid of all the even numbers. And a multiple of 3. So that only leaves me with 3 and 9. Question 9, right? 4.7 times 10 to the minus 1 as an ordinary number. So the standard form means that I'm going to move my decimal point 1 towards the left, or move my place value 1 towards the right. So my number is going to become 0.47. Work out the value of giving your answer in standard form. So this is the first one where I'm going to bring my calculator in. Should be nice and ready. Right. Modern calculators have a really nice standard form button here. So I'm going to use that. So and I'm going to put it in brackets, although technically speaking I don't need the brackets. But I always find it useful to put them in just in case. Times by 9.5 times by 10 to the 5. Now I'm going to do a tiny bit of working out in my head. So 2 times by 9 would be 18, and then 10 to the 3 times 10 to the 5 would be 10 to the 8, because you would add the powers. So I'm really looking for, so that would be 18 times 10 to the 8, which would be 1.8 times 10 to the 9. So we've got it is 2, 2, 8, 1. Let me count the zeros. 1, make my calculator bigger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros. So I need to put my number, my decimal point there, 2.28 times by 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And like I said, I estimated it to be roughly 1.8 times 10 to the 9, and I'd rounded both my numbers down. I probably shouldn't have rounded that one down. That was poor practice on my behalf. It would have been better as 2 times 10, but there we go. So question 10. So simplify, I briefly discussed this earlier. When we multiply indices, we add the powers, so that's just going to become n to the power 8. So my pen keeps picking up black as its original colour and taking a second to hit in. Next one, C. So I'm going to do this in, I'm going to kind of separate my C's and D's. C to the 3 divided by C to the 2, I take away the powers, so that would be C to the 1 or just C. And then D to the 4 divided by D to the 1 would become D to the 3. And then solve the inequality. So I'm going to start by timesing both sides by 2. So 5x has to be greater than 14, and then divide both sides by 5. X has to be greater than 2 4/5. You could have gone decimal there, or you could have even left it as 14 over 5. Question 11. A bag contains red counters and blue counters only. The number of red counters to the number of blue counters is 3 to 4. Write down the fraction of the number of counters that are red. So red is the first part, so red is 3. So it's 3 out of the number of parts that we've got, which is 3 plus 4, which would be 7. So 3 out of 7. Second one, part B, write the ratio 12 to 30 in the form 1 to n. So it's going to become, I need to divide both sides by 12. So it will be 1 to 30 divided by 12, and my calculator will cancel this down for me. To 5 over 2, and I'm just going to write that as 1 to shift and then give it as an improper fraction 2.5. Question 12. A garden is in the shape of a rectangle 90 meters by 60 meters. Flowers are grown in 40% of the garden. The rest of the garden is grass. Work out the area of the garden that is grass. Okay, so the total area of the garden would be 90 times by 60, and if we've got 40% that is flowers, 60% of that would be grass, so I'm going to times that by 0.6. So 90 times by 60 times by 0.6, I've missed my point out, 0.6 gives me 3,240 meters squared. So 3240. Already got the units in the question. Question 13. Jenna measures all the angles around a point. Her results are 23, 145, 23 and 69. Explain why these cannot be true. So angles at point equal 360 degrees. These equal 23 plus 145 plus 23 plus 69, 260. So cannot be all the angles around a point. Question 14, we've got A, B, C, D and D, C, E are straight lines. Work out the size of the angle marked with the X. So the angle marked with the X is going to be the same as the angle So I will say ACB will also equal X. And I like to put my reasons in a bracket as vertically opposite. ECD, so that's going E to C to D. And then angles in a triangle need to equal 360 degrees. So I'm going to say that X is going to be equal to 180 minus 116 plus 25, which is going to be equal to, can do it in my head, but we've got a calculator, so let's just do this with a calculator. 39 degrees. And then the reason for that is angles in a triangle equal 180 degrees. Question 15. P to the power 3 times by P to the power X is equal to P to the power 9. Work out the value of X. So we've got to, so this would actually be P to the power 3 plus X, and that's got to be equal to P to the 9. So, which means that 3 plus X, or X plus 3, is equal to 9, minus 3 from both sides. X would be equal to 6. Similar question, this time 7 to the 2 to the y would become 7 to the 2y is equal to 7 to the 10. So 2y has got to be equal to 10. Divide both sides by 2, y would be equal to 5. And then my last one, 100 to the power a times by 1000 to the power b can be written in the form 10 to the power w. Show that. Right. So I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to say that 100 is equal to 10 to the power 2, and 1000 is going to be equal to 10 to the power 3. So I'm now going to write 10 to the power 2 to the power a times by 10 to the power 3 to the power b. Has to be, and I'll leave it like that for now. So that's going to become 10 to the power, actually we'll go, is equal to 10 to the power w. So 10 to the power 2a times by 10 to the power 3b is equal to 10 to the power w. So, and then when we multiply them, we add the powers. So 10 to the power 2a plus 3b is equal to 10 to the power w. So w must be equal to 2a plus 3b. Question 16. In Spain, Sam pays €27 for 18 litres of petrol. In Wales, Leo buys pays £40.80 for 8 gallons of the same type of petrol. €1 equals what? 4.5 litres equals. Sam thinks the petrol is cheaper in Spain than in Wales. Is Sam correct? You must show how you got your answer. Okay, so I'm going to say that in Spain we pay €27 and we get 18 litres of petrol. And then we're saying that in Wales, Leo pays £40.80 and he gets 8 gallons. Right, this isn't how I would normally do a question like this. I would normally, and there would be nothing to stop me doing this. I basically need to have the same price for the same unit for both of these. So I could, in theory, convert this to euros and this to litres, which would be how I would normally do it. However, I'm getting persuaded to go kind of in a different direction because we tend to in Britain work in pounds and litres. So I'm drawn to do that, but I'm going to fly away from that and I'm going to just adjust this one. So if I wanted to convert this into euros, so I would need to divide by 0.85. So if I do that, 40 divided by, 40.8 divided by 0.85 gives me 48. So I get 48 euros buying me 8 gallons. And then if I do my conversion of gallons into litres, I would need to multiply this one by 4.5. So for 48 euros, I get 8 times by 4.5. So I will get 36 litres. Right, now I've got them in the same kind of format. They're both in euros and litres. I'm going to work out the price per euro. So for 1 euro, I would get 18 divided by 27. So I would get 0.6 reoccurring, 0.6 reoccurring litres. And then in Wales, I would get 36 divided by 48. I would get 0.75. So 1 euro would get me 0.75 litres. So now I've got them in the same format and a unit price for each. I can say which one is cheaper. Sam thinks petrol is cheaper in Wales. Is Sam correct? Yes. Yes, Sam is correct. And I've done everything correct except for I've got my last bit confused. Sam thinks petrol is cheaper in Wales. In Spain than in Wales. No, it's cheaper in Wales. Okay, question 17. Rotate trapezium 180 degrees about the origin and label the new trapezium A. So I'm not going to use tracing paper. I'm going to look at point to point. So this point is currently 2 to the right and 1 down. So it's going to go 2 to the left and 1 up. So that point would go to there. This point is 2 to the right and 2 down. So it would go 2 to the right and 2 up. This one is 4 and 1. So 4, 4 and 1, and then 5 and 2, 5 and 2. So that's going to be my rotation. If you're not comfortable with rotation, make sure you get some tracing paper and just double check that. Label the new trapezium A, so there we go. And then part B, translate trapezium T by the vector -1, -3. So a common mistake that I make is that I do the translation to the new shape. This does say trapezium T by the vector -1, -3. Well, that means -1 to the left and 3 down. So if I pick a point to start with, 1 across and 3 down, so that point's going to go to there. And I can do it for every single point, but I'm just going to go through. Label that trapezium B. Okay, question 18. Last year, the cost of a season ticket for a football club was £560. This year, the cost of the season ticket for the club has increased to £600. Work out the increase in the cost of the ticket as a fraction of last year's total cost. Okay, so the increase in price is 600 minus 560, and that's going to be over the original price, which was 560. So that's going to be 40 over 560. It doesn't say in its simplest form, however, particularly as it's a calculator paper and we can make sure that we don't make any mistakes, I would cancel that down to 1 out of 14. Okay, question 19. Look at my chapter index, I thought I wrote that down wrong. Okay, the picture shows a bus next to a building. The bus has a length of 12 meters. The bus and the building are drawn to the same scale. Work out an estimate for the height in meters of the building. So I'm going to bring my ruler back in. Okay, so by my ruler, so I make the bus 2 centimeters. So I make the bus 2 centimeters. and I make the height of the building 4.8. My ruler is going to go off the page. 4.8. So to work out the real length, I'm going to do 4.8 divided by 2 and then times that by 12. So let's go back to my calculator. So 4.8 divided by 2 and then times by 12. So I make it 28.8 meters high. So 28.8. That's not very good 8, so let's redo that. And just checking the mark scheme. The mark scheme says accept answers in the range of 27 to 33. So there's quite a bit of a range of answers accepted there. Okay, question 20, solve. So I'm actually going to, you've got two options really. You could multiply out the brackets and then solve, but I always find it easier if you can do it, divide by the coefficient of the bracket. So if I divide that by 3, I'd get x minus 4, and that's going to be equal to 12 divided by 4 is 12 divided by 3, sorry, is 4, and then add 4 to both sides gives me x is equal to 8. Right, factorise fully. So these have a number and an algebraic term in common. So the highest common factor of 9 and 3 is 3, and the highest common factor of b and b squared is b. So I can take 3b out as a common factor. So I need to times 3b by 3 to get 9b, and I need to times 3b by b to get 3b squared. I've got a negative symbol in the middle, so I need a negative symbol in the middle of my brackets. Right, question 21. Year 9 students from Halley School were asked to choose one language to study. This information, the table shows the information about their choices. Draw an accurate pie chart of this information. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do is work out how many students there were at this school, year 9 students, sorry. So 56 plus 40 plus 24 gives me a total of 120. Now pie charts need to add up to 360. Which means that I've got to times each of these values by 3. So times by 3, times by 3, times by 3. So 56 times by 3 gives me 168. So I'm going to call this angle. 40 times by 3 gives me 120. And then 24 times by 3 gives me 72. I can double check that these add up to 360, so 8 plus 2 is 10, 6 plus 2 plus 7 is 5, plus the 1 is 60, 16, 1, 1, 3. Yeah, so that works. Right, now I need to draw that pie chart. So I've got my protractor then. I need to spin my protractor around so that the zero line matches, and mine's a bit awkward. So there we go, and I need to measure 168. This time I'm going to make sure I go from the outside numbers. So 168 brings me round to here. Not quite there. That would be 160. 168 would bring me round to here. So I need to join that with a straight line. Then I spin my protractor around again so that my zero line matches. I'm going to label my pie chart in a moment. Struggling to place it exact. Still not there. There we go. And this time I'm measuring 120 from the outside. 120 would take me through to there. So again, straight line through that point. And then if I've drawn that accurately, that final angle should be 72. So let's just have a quick measure of that. And now I'm measuring from the inside, and that's pretty much bang on 72. Oop. Meant to move my protractor, not my line. There we go. Right, so final stage then is to label my sides. So I've got Spanish, German, and then the other one was French. Okay, same question. Year 9 students from Lowry School are also asked to choose one language to study. An accurate pie chart shows the information about their choices, so French, German, Spanish. Sermina says the pie chart shows that French was chosen by more students in Year 9 students in Lowry than in Halley School. Is Shamina right? No, as we don't know any numbers. Numbers of students at Howell School. So for example, if I think there were 120 at Lowry, if there were say 1600 at Halley School, then that would definitely not be true. We can say that a greater proportion of French. Can we say a greater proportion of French? No, we can't. Because the French was chosen by more students. Still holds true. We don't know numbers. Okay, question 22. A, B, and C share a sum of money. Alan gets 1/8 of the money. Bishpa gets half of the money. Chan gets the rest of the money. Alan gets £2.50. Work out how much money the Bishpa gets. So if we look at it like this, we've got A, B, and C. We've got Alan gets 1/8 of the money. B gets 1/2 of the money. That would be 4 out of 8, so that must mean C gets 3/8 of the money. So if Alan gets £2.50, C would get 3 times the amount, so £7.50. Find the ratio of the amount of money that Alan gets to the amount of money that Chan gets, given your answer in the form A to B, where A is a whole number. A to C. So we've kind of done it already. If we put them in as 8ths, that would be 1 to 3. And I've just spotted, I found out C's value here. I was supposed to find out B's value. That would be 4 times as much, so it would be £10. I've made a slight mistake there. I found the amount that C got, not B got. Okay, question 23. Ben is N years old. Chloe is twice as old as Ben. Dan is 5 years younger than Ben. The total of B, C, and D's ages T years. Write a formula for T. So we've got N. Chloe is twice as old as Ben, so that would be 2N. And Dan is 5 years younger than Ben, so that would be N minus 5. And then, so the formula for the totals would be T is equal to N plus 2N is 3N, 4N minus 5. Part B, in the table below, put a ticks in the box next to the identity. So an identity is something that is always true. So I'm going to do it slightly differently. I'm going to, so that's an expression, so it can't be that one. That's a formula, so it can't be that one. That's an inequality, so it can't be that one. That's an equation, so it can't be that one. And then if you think about 5m minus 3m would be equal to 2m, and that will always be true, so that's the identity. Question 24. Diagram shows a regular pentagon and a parallelogram. Work out the size of the angle marked with an X. You must show your working. Okay, so these are supplementary or co-interior angles if it's a parallelogram. So they need to add up to 180. So this angle here I'm going to call Y for now. So Y is going to be equal to 180 minus 117. So that's going to be 63. Right, now I need to work out the interior angle of the pentagon. The way I'm going to do it is I'm going to work out the exterior angle. So the exterior angle, let's call it Z for now, because I've already used Y. So Z is going to be equal to 360 divided by the number of sides, so divided by 5. So I think that's going to be 72. So all three angles need to add up to 180. So if I do 108, so I'm going to say X is going to be equal to 180 minus 63 plus 72, which is going to be 180 minus 63 plus 72. It's 45. Didn't close my bracket there, but it doesn't really matter. So we're looking at 45. It doesn't ask you to state your reasons, just show your working clearly. Okay, question 25, change 30 meters per second into kilometers per hour. So I like using unit conversions in terms of a ratio table. So in 1 second, it travels 30 meters. So that means if I want per hour, I would need to times both sides by 60. That would give it me in minutes, and then times it by 60 again would give it me in hours. So 3,600 seconds, which is the number of seconds in an hour, is going to be 30 times by 60 times by 60 is going to be equal to 108,000 meters. 3,600 seconds is 1 hour, and that's going to be 108 kilometers. So the speed would be 180 kilometers per hour. Lots of other ways you could do that. I just find that ratio method quite useful. I've recently adopted it and I quite like it. Okay, question 26, solve. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2 to start with. So x squared is going to be equal to 36. Then I'm going to square root both sides. So x is going to be equal to the square root of 36, which is and then factorise. So it's going to go into a double bracket. Both parts are going to start with an x. And then I'm looking for two numbers that multiply together to make 9, multiply together to make the back term, and add together to make the middle term, 6. So it's got to be 3 and 3. So x plus 3 and squared. Question 27. Sally uses her calculator to work out the value of y. The answer on her calculated display began 8.3. Complete the error interval. So if we're talking about, this is a technical way of talking about truncating a number. So if we imagine our calculator 8.3, then I'm just going to put some x's in so that I can't see the rest of it. So the very smallest that it could be would be 8.3, and it could be equal to 8.3. Because of the inequality symbol here, less than, technically the largest it could be would be 8.3. No, would be the largest it could be, but we're not after the largest it could be. We're saying it's got to be less than. So I'm going to go 8.4 there. Question 28, work out the value of. So it actually asks for the value of. So I'm going to So the top line, when I multiply the powers, I would add them. So that's going to become 4 to the 3 divided by 4, which is going to become 4 to the 2, which is 16. Question 29. Harley's house has a value of 160,000. Correct two significant figures. Write down the least possible value of our house. So it's been rounded to 160,000 to two significant figures. So that's been rounded to that as opposed to 150,000. So the smallest it could be would be 155,000. Write down the greatest possible value. The greatest possible value. Well, this one's slightly debatable. 170,000. So directly in between would be 165, but arguably you could go 164,999.9999999, but we tend to, for an upper bound, we go 165,000. The value of Rita's house increased by 5%. The house then had a value of £210,000. Work out the value of the house before the increase. So an increase of 5% is a multiplier of 1.05. So if we want to find the original price, we just need to take the new price and divide it by the multiplier, which I think is going to be 200,000. 210,000 divided by 1.05 gives me 200,000. Question 30. Here is a triangular prism. Work out the volume of the prism, giving your answer correct to three significant figures. Okay, so we need to work out this length here, so the base. Try and make it a B rather than a 6. So the base is going to be equal to, I need a Pythag here because I've got two sides and I want the third side, so three sides are involved. So B squared is going to be equal to 8.4 squared minus 7.2 squared. So that's going to be 8.4 squared minus 7.2 squared. So that's going to be 468 over 25. So B is going to be equal to the square root of that. So I will go decimal. So that's going to be 4.3266 ... Right, the volume of the trapezium is going to be the area of the triangle, which is going to be a half of base times by 7.2. And I need to times that by the length, so times that by 18. So if I multiply that by 7.2, multiply that by 0.5, and then multiply that by 18, that will give me my final answer. And I want it as a decimal, so 292.0496 ... not rounded. So to three significant figures, that's going to be 292. And I've just spotted I've typed something wrong in my calculator. If we look, I typed 7.5 instead of 7.2. So if I go back and do that again, so that was 4.3266, and then I need to change that for a 2. There we go. So that's slightly out of my answer because of that. Always worth double checking that what you've typed into the calculator matches what you wanted. I'm very susceptible to making that as a mistake. Right, so that would actually be 280 to three significant figures. Right, question 31. Diagram shows an empty tank in the shape of a cylinder. The cylinder has a radius of 15 centimeters and a height of 43. Water flows into the tank at a rate of 0.43 liters per minute. Calculate the number of minutes it will take to completely fill the tank. Give your answer correct to the nearest minute. Okay, so I'm going to start by working out the volume of the cylinder. The volume is going to be equal to pi times by the radius squared times by 43. So the volume of that is shift pi, you can press shift pi times by 15 squared times by 43. That's going to give me, I'm going to leave it in terms of pi for now, just because it keeps my answer exact. Centimeters cubed. Right, the next thing I'm going to look at is 1 litre is equal to 1,000 centimeters cubed. So I'm going to convert this into litres. So the volume is equal to that answer divided by 1,000. So it's 387 over 40 lots of pi litres. And if the tank flows at a rate of 0.47 litres per minute, the time it takes will be equal to the volume divided by the rate. So that's going to be equal to that divided by 0.47. So 64.6700 ... minutes. So to the nearest minute, we're looking at 65 minutes. Okay, question 32. This diagram shows a right angle triangle and a quarter of a circle. The right angle triangle has an angle of 90 degrees. The quarter, well, that's kind of implied by it being a right angle triangle. The quarter of the circle has a radius of, the quarter circle has a center C and a radius of CB. Okay, work out the area of the quarter circle. Work out the area of the quarter circle. Given your answer correct, 3 significant figures. So we need to work out this, we'll call it R for now. So R squared would be equal to 9 squared minus 6 squared. So 9 squared minus 6 squared. So it's going to be equal to 45. So R is going to be equal to square root of 45, which I'm going to call 3 root 5 for now. Or as a decimal, 6.708 ... So the area of the quarter circle, I'm going to call that QC, is going to be equal to pi r squared divided by 4. I've already got R here, so I'm just going to square that answer, which is 45. And then I'm going to times that by pi, and then divide my answer by 4. So as a decimal, that's going to be 35.3429. So to 3 significant figures, then that's going to be 35.3. Question 33. On a scale, in a sale, the normal price of a boat is reduced by 15%. The sale price of the boat was £272,000. Work out the normal price of the boat. So if it's been reduced by 85%, that would be a multiplier of 0.85. So all we need to do for this is the new price divided by the multiplier. So 272,123 divided by 0.85. So it's 32,320,000. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this paper. Just looking at, just double checking that I got the right one. So this is the skills map. I've mentioned it a few times about the enhanced skills map that Edexcel produced that I used to select the questions for this paper. It's quite useful. I then arranged it by mean difficulty. So you can see here's the mean difficulty column, and then I've arranged it by mean difficulty. What this does also give us is, so this is slightly out because I've got it written in as like part A, part B, part C. So I haven't got the full marks for this, but they're saying roughly the grade boundary is roughly then sort of 50 marks for a grade 5, 37 for a 4, 28 for a 3, 19 for a 2, and 11 for a 1, 12 for a 1. it would actually realistically it would be slightly higher than that, because like I said, all we've got is parts A, B, C's. So what I mean by that is, first question, I really only wanted part B for that question, and that was only worth 1 mark, so that's why the paper is a different total to what's on that skills map. Thank you very much for taking the time in watching the video. I hope you find it very useful. Please do add any questions, comments or feedback into the chat for this video, and we'll get back to you fairly promptly. Remember, if you subscribe, you'll get automatic updates when I post new videos. I'll be posting the video of the good chance topics over the next few days, so make sure you subscribe if you want to be updated when those come out. Other than that, good luck with your exams. Hope you get everything you have worked for.